day 3 of Journalism Media Week, and we're continuing with our audio morning. Of course, got an alumni panel coming up, everyone working in radio at 12 o'clock. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the biggest local radio show in West Yorkshire, and not just that, celebrating their 10th birthday on air, and winner of 4 ARIA awards. I'm reading the list here. This is incredible. This year they picked up 2. Silver for Best Breakfast Show ahead of Zoe Ball, Greg James and Chris Evans. And gold for Best Local Show at the ARIAs as well. And also, Hits Radio Yorkshire's Becky Lomas, an integral part of the West Yorkshire team, winner at the IRN, the Commercial Radio Awards for News Team of the Year. Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Becky Lomas, Rosie Madison, and Danny Mylo!
Hello.
It sounds really good when it's written down, doesn't it?
You can tell we didn't write that.
Yeah. You can never write nice things about yourself, can you?
Well, it's all true. 10 years. Well, first of all, let's start about how you actually sort of like got into radio before we get onto your show itself. Danny, let's start with you, because I remember you, the first time I met you was at Galaxy, and I think you must have been maybe 15, 16?
Yeah, 14, just trying to get foot in the door, just trying to make tea for all of this. It's the same story as a lot of the radio geeks, but yeah, just you wanting to get in there, and just it's something that I've loved doing since being 9-10 years old, and that was kind of the foot in the door to go and just make tea for someone.
You
just
still look 9 or 10.
In the building. Thank you. That's the Botox. So yeah, just trying to get any radio work at all back then, and then you're just in the right place at the right time. Someone's off ill, so they say, "Oh, do you fancy covering this?" and whatnot. So it's a long time ago now. Yeah.
No, it served you well, and you still do look very young. Rosie, you still look young as well.
Thank you. That was really straight in there, wasn't it?
Thanks, I'll get that in there.
Yeah, very good.
So I met you at KCFM in Hull way back in 2007,
I'm glad you can remember when.
Yeah.
I don't remember at all.
Was that your first gig in radio then?
It sounded like it was. It sounded like it was, but it wasn't. No, I too started at Galaxy, but like Mylo said, you just do any job you can just to get your foot in there. And I started on the reception desk at Galaxy, just covering, and then Jojo, who was on the breakfast show at the time, went off on maternity leave, and they were looking for someone, and it is totally right place at right time, and they thought, hang on a minute, she's quite funny, and she was 18 at the time, was our little Rosie, and then I was on the biggest breakfast show outside of Yorkshire.
You've never been little Rosie though at 6'2".
I've always been. I was born 6'2". Yeah.
And Becky, was it always sort of radio journalism that you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I always wanted to do that, and I did a degree in broadcast journalism. But again, similarly, it was just getting the foot in the door. I think it must be over 10 years ago, it doesn't feel it, but when I first met you, Danny, at Pulse, way back when, I was still at uni, and they needed somebody to do a couple of weekend shifts, and then suddenly somebody went off ill, and they needed somebody, like 5 days a week. So it was, just sort of, again, I think people got sick of me being like, can I get you a cup of tea? Can I get you a coffee? They were like, we can't drink any more hot drinks, no thank you. But just that similar sort of thing, really.
And so how did this sort of come together, sort of like 10 years ago? I can't believe it's 10 years, but how did that all come together, Rosie?
I've never met these two people before. I'm literally here just for the free drinks.
It's just water, that's all we've got.
Mylo, you were on mids at the time.
Yeah, so I did mids at The Pulse, as it was back then, and they were looking for a new breakfast show on there. You got binned from Viking.
Yeah.
And Hursty, who is both of our radio mentors, she just said, "Oh, do you want to put a do you want to do a pilot?"
And they put these two people, who actually we'd never worked together before. We only met at radio things, and they put us together and realised that, hang on a minute, this is something ridiculous. And we clicked straight away. And when I say we clicked straight away, it is best friend sort of stuff. Like me and Mylo, we holiday together. I am the guide parent of his nephew. It is, we we cannot ever fall out because we know where each other's skeletons are, and we could get the other person arrested like that.
So if one goes down,
we both go down. We've both got a spare room and a spare bed, always made up for in case we get that phone call from the other person said they've left me.
In my will, actually, it does say delete WhatsApp chat.
Yes. Yeah. So and from there, it's been 10 years of just fun and joy and loads of tears, but being that connection and again, like with Becky as well, coming in with it must be quite difficult for you to come into that dynamic.
Yeah, you're both horrid.
But
awful to work with.
But it's just friendship, innit? And I think that's got to be the first thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, because you think that, but it was dead easy coming in because I was off. I'd been on West Yorkshire previously when it was Radio Air in Leeds. That was my first sort of calling in Leeds.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Radio Air. So I was on there for years, and then I had various kids on various mat leaves, and came back off the last one. And they said, yeah, right, we're going to put you on, which is now like 4 years ago, which actually has gone quite quickly. But yeah, it was dead easy actually, because you're both very nice to just sort of just get straight into it and just.
It is just like, it makes it so much easier when you like each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Humour first.
Yeah.
It's humour. It's
always
all
do the funny
humour.
first. It's too serious, just it doesn't work and it's boring.
There are a lot of radio shows, we'll let you know about this. There are a lot of radio shows, and if you pay us a lot of money, we'll tell you who don't like each other.
Sounds fine on the air.
Yeah.
But
they hate
you
each
have
other.
a look under those covers. Woo!
But in all seriousness, and I think you can hear it on air, and that makes a difference how well we all know each other, you know, and that we spend time outside, choose to spend time when we're not getting paid to be around each other. That makes a difference.
Yeah, and it's that sort of like that sort of mentality that the listener buys into, isn't it? Because you know you're trying to sort of create that sort of like little gang that you're all in, that people then dip into for a few hours in a morning, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we want it to feel like a gang. Absolutely. Like we always say, it's like a pub, like we're all there. But we don't want to feel like if the listener has just come in and we're all chatting about something, that they're ignored, because it's like, that's too cliquey and stuff. It's a bit like, imagine your mate's just arrived at the pub, they've been a bit late, you're chatting about something, you don't just ignore them, you go, hey, you're here, come on in, we were just talking about this, and then you're in the group.
Do you want a pint? Like,
yeah,
you know,
that's
even at 7:10 in the morning,
yeah,
we want that feeling.
That feeling. Here's the recap of what we've just been chatting about. Now you know. So you're not, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not in that group, and they're too cliquey.
So you can still do the stories and tell the stories, but you just keep resetting every link. So if someone is joining you and they're not, you know, we all think that we're great and people will join us and listen between 6 and 10 on a morning, but in reality, no, you're just with them for the 10 minutes that they're on a school run or on their way to work. So just keep resetting, and then everyone feels part of that family on a morning, rather than someone coming in thinking I've got no idea what they're on about and just going off. This is the most prepared I've ever seen a session. So they've actually got some clips of the connection with the audience, and if you can see there, the same shirt. Here we go.
No. I got married. Obviously wanted to get in shape and look the best that I could, but I was struggling. So I spoke to my doctor, and she said, you're probably about the right way to have a go at it. What's that? A tablet that kind of flushes through, let's say, any saturated fat. I thought, this is great. So I also trotted up this hill, big long hike with the dogs.
You were fit as well, but you were also on these tablets.
I tried to be, yeah. I'm up in the woods, middle of nowhere, and my belly were gurgling. Oh, it were bad. And I thought, there's nobody about, so maybe I've just got a bit of wind. I did not have a bit of wind.
Did it happen? Like that moment in Bridesmaids when they're trying to cross the road, did that happen?
That was it. That was the moment, and it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. I had bright pink yoga pants on that were not bright pink by the time I got home.
No.
Yeah, it was one of the worst moments of my life. We literally stood going, no, this is not happening. And it happened, and I had to waddle 4 miles back home.
Did you shout the line? It's coming at me like lava.
I never thought it was possible to lose control of your bodily functions. Ever. Lost control of everything. Lost my self-respect in the woods that day.
Quality. Quality.
Isn't it?
That sort of trust from a listener to be able to tell that story, that's incredible, Rosie.
We have, I think we've worked on our listeners for 10 years to be, here's an open door policy. If you want to tell us something in confidence, we're all here for you. Let them talk. Let them be the funny ones. Let them, we don't need to top them. We don't need to go, oh, and here's my story. It's all about you. You are the star. What we is edited out about that is she actually had to tip it out of her wellies as well. There was that much of it.
That bit didn't make it to the cut
That
because
didn't
she said it wasn't good enough for breakfast radio.
Yeah. But
our producer said, think of the cornflakes. No, you don't want that.
but it's we just want our listeners to feel like they're our best friends as well.
Yeah, and the fact that they can trust us with stories like that and think that they know us and they've bought into the show, so they think, actually, yeah, I'm going to ring them and tell them that story. Like, I wouldn't.
It's such an honour when they say, Mylo and Rosie, Becky will find this so funny.
And they've got the better stories as well. Like you get stories like that. It's like you come off and you just think, buzzing.
Just on a sort of like a technical side, how are those sort of like slots put together? Are you pre-recording those, then editing them, or are you doing a lot of stuff live? How sort of like the technical side are you doing it?
So we actually find it better, and it's a better listen if we record the calls in advance, because in the edit, like when you are speaking to someone that's not amazing at telling stories, often you'll find that they add too much, and the listener will get lost in a lot of that waffle that's not needed. So if we record them in advance, we in the edit before it goes to air take out the bits that are not necessary, so you can get straight to the punchlines faster, and it gives it it's more impactful on the listeners. Then we do take live calls.
Yeah,
we do take live calls, but for the stories, I think we
can take out the Wellington boot thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Mylo edits the calls, and for example, for a 2-minute call, some of them can be how long?
Oh, we'll spend 6 or 7 minutes on with the callers after, at least, sometimes 10 minutes. But by the time you finish your edit, it's only 2 minutes long, which is good because people have got attention spans of gnats these days. Just look at TikTok; it's just scroll. You just want to get straight to the funny quick. Keep it simple.
We'll do a call like that, I'm sure, like Becky does when she's editing interviews, and you'll chat to them, and you will be listening to them, and you will be reacting to them, but you'll also, me and Mylo will be making eye contact and going, that bit, take that, move that there. Take that, move that there, and that will flow better. And you're editing as you go along.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You give me good credit that I'm always listening to it.
You don't listen to our show?
No, interviews. Sometimes, obviously for us, it needs to be very, very short and very snappy. So I'm looking for a 15-second maximum clip to go at the top of a news bulletin. And sometimes that can be like, I've had like 45 minutes of audio because you just can't. It's very hard to wrap up, isn't it, sometimes? So I just try and mark down throughout, because otherwise, I need 15 seconds. You just need that little bit.
And also, sort of like with local radio news, how does your job work in a morning? Because you're not just doing one bulletin for Mylo and Rosie, you're doing much more than that. Yeah,
so I do the bulletin for Mylo and Rosie, obviously that goes out on Greatest Hits as well. I actually do a bulletin for the breakfast show in South Yorkshire as well, and for Greatest Hits in South Yorkshire. So, yeah, and all the online stuff, so I've got to make sure everything's up to date. Obviously on all the socials as well, and just see what's going on as well, what's been breaking overnight, what's happening.
Nothing's happened recently though, has it? Nothing's happened.
Today's been a quiet day
for
news.
Very quiet today.
No news today.
What I liked was listening to 5 Live on the way in, and then I thought, no, I'm going to switch over. I'll switch over once I heard about what was going on.
Nice
Switched
recovery.
over, and then you were doing a link about dogs that aren't afraid of fireworks. And I think, this is the content I need this morning. That's what I needed, definitely. And I suppose you've got to take a certain tone in the news as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I very, very, very much always have the audience in my mind. So even in terms of, like you were saying about tipping stuff out of wellies on there, I will always tailor the language that I use. Some stories I don't run because it's too graphic over breakfast, and I'll say we can run that sort of later. Because the way I always think of it is, if I'm in the car with my 7 and 4 year old, do I want them to come back to me and go, Mum, what does that mean? And if the answer's no, I'm not putting it in. So I can still get round it and put that in, but I always sort of consider the content that I'm putting in, especially over breakfast. You can keep it for a bit later if needs be, when they're at school. And if I really have to, something a bit graphic, then I'm just careful around the language, really. Yeah.
And I suppose, just continuing on the connection, because, your listener, they become your mates, don't they, really? And, you don't know them specifically, but, they know you. And that's quite, they'll tell you things that they probably wouldn't normally tell you. I mean, that's one thing. But then on the flip side, some really sort of like serious stuff that they'll tell you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff even that doesn't even go on air, that we will have messages every day, which is such an honour, from people that are saying, Mylo and Rosie, you don't realise ... that you've got me through this, or you've got me through that on
this moment. And a lot, it is sinister, and like Rosie says, it's not something that makes it on air, but the fact that they feel that they can call us and talk to us about that, we'll always take the time with them and listen to them if normally it's the other way around, but yeah, for us listening to them as well, it just create a connection like no other. It's good.
I think we've got a clip here which shows this sort of impact as well.
Just completely out of the blue, he had a stroke. He ended up in a coma for 17 days.
Oh. 6 years old.
Doctors honestly were not very hopeful. They advised me to withdraw care. Actually, even if he does wake up, he will not breathe by himself, he will not sit up.
You did everything you could.
You did, which included reaching out to us at one point.
We listened to you always on our school run. He was becoming an expert in Beat the Bandit.
You had a really good idea to get us to record a little message to play to Ben, so we could hear our voices.
Hello, Benjamin.
It meant a lot to me, guys, and things like that help so much, when you know that somebody is thinking about your little boy,
We got a reply from Ben when he woke up from his coma.
Thank you, Mylo and Rosie. Please, can you come to my birthday party with you?
Of course, we will be there.
With bells on.
Surprise!
Mylo and Rosie.
We brought some friends along to meet you as well. Come on in, Mario. Come on, Louis. Yeah! Happy birthday, dear Benjamin. Happy birthday to you.
It's amazing what you've done, seriously. Look at his face. It has been absolutely the hardest time in my life. I literally sat there every day, lay down next to him, and I was just whispering, to him that he needs to come back to us, and his recovery was amazing.
He's a fighter.
He is, what a determined
He
little
really-
boy.
I love you, Rosie, and you, Mylo.
Oh, we love you too.
That's That's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, what other sort of job would you have that sort of impact? That's incredible, Rosie.
That's what we mean. It's an honour. It's an absolute honour. And if we ever hear from a listener who is struggling and we can do anything and you feel so like it's not enough, you know, this is a single mum that has gone through that, and her kid has had a stroke. And you think, oh, can we come and say happy birthday to your child? You think it's not enough, but it sort of does help, and we'll do anything. We'll do anything for our listeners. We when we say we love them, we absolutely love them, and we're honoured that they let us into their lives.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to hear. And look, when you say you'll do anything, obviously that on the flip side of that, there's some sort of like crazy stuff that you can get up to as well on the radio show. What's the craziest thing you've had to do, Danny, on the radio, do you think? There's been a bit.
Craziest?
I don't know. The craziest is when...
The craziest is the stories that we can't tell.
Yeah.
Because it's...
I think, yeah.
When the mic faders down.
No, it's the ones where you
where things go wrong.
Where
I think
things
that's the craziest.
do go wrong, and words have said that they shouldn't be said, but instead of shouting about it and telling people, we kind of brush them under the carpet.
Or where things are said, and then you realise, you look, and there's a red light still on, and you think... That might have gone out.
There was once a mistake made when somebody was talking about our Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt.
That was our last newsreader. That was just before you came.
That was not me.
No,
it wasn't you.
Yeah.
No. However, nothing more will be said about that. We'll leave. Let you have your imagination. But you know when
lots of people have fallen into the Jeremy Hunt problem.
You are waiting for your phone to light up, and you're just like, oh shit.
The crazy things, I think, sometimes they make it to where the silly ideas that we go, this would be quite fun, like, let's go on a tour around West Yorkshire during the summer. What vehicle should we use? An ice cream van. That'll be funny. Let's do it. Or what games did we used to play when we were younger? Oh, we used to play Knock a Door Run. Should we go play Knock a Door Run for a bit? Let's go with our listeners and play a West Yorkshire wide Knock a Door Run.
Well, as you're talking about Knock a Door Run, which I think was pretty recently.
What a great segue.
You are welcome. Thank
you very much. Let's have a look at Rosie in Knock a Door Run.
Mylo and Rosie's Halloween Knock a Door Run. Let's go. 30. Trick or treat! She's there! My goodness, she's here and she looks gorgeous. She got more excited when I handed the Haribo over than when I turned up. That says everything. 30. Got 30 seconds. I'm not doing it, I'm doing it. It's me. 2. They went shower. They've not answered. Oh. They really don't. Happy Halloween! And happy Halloween to you as well!
Are you ready?
I am, and I'm just going down the drive. They look like they haven't turned the car over for a while. I don't think that's going to start.
30.
I think I can see movement.
What was that?
Could this be
20.
trick or treat? Yeah! The big question, Amy, did you know that I was at your house because I described your clapped out car with that tyre? You knew it, didn't you?
I am in the comfort of a very nice, warm studio. Rosie, where are you?
I'm freezing, Michelle. I'm freezing. Who invented Halloween in October? Why can't it be in June? You know what I mean? A bit of feedback for next time. Trick or treat! Happy Halloween! Trick or treat is great! See you guys! I want to be polite, but also, I'm 38. I do need to go for a win.
So that came about clapping a 6'2" skeleton. That came about because I have never actually been trick-or-treating in my life. My parents said it was glorified begging. So
we did it as a
stupid idea.
Bit of an arc on the show. We thought, right, you've never been trick-or-treating. What can we do with it? Obviously, we can't take things from our listeners, even though if they're offering you money, you would. But we decided that it would be nice for you to give them prizes if they answer the door within 30 seconds.
And things like that you don't even see, but, you know, joking like, oh, I need to go to the loo and stuff. But it's because we had people who were driving around with their kids in the pyjamas because they thought, I can hear where Rosie is and she's on the end of my street, so we're going to go and chase her and find her.
Trying to find her, yeah.
And you just think, that means so much. That does mean so much. And you never get over that.
No. Becky, when you're hearing those sort of things, do you think, oh, I wish I'd been a presenter?
No. No.
And
No.
I'll tell you for why. Staff, freelance contracts, security.
However, if you look at the difference in all of our cars, then there's a slight difference in my in that. Yeah, you have a look in the car park. No, I think ultimately you two are just so good at that. You're so good at what you do. And I could never do anything like that. I'm just not. Oh no, I couldn't.
You
No,
do.
No, I don't.
When you're on with us, you've got wonderful stories
All
as well
I do
about.
is whinge about my husband usually when I'm on with you, or tell you something stupid that my kids have done, which is quite a lot. But no, I think it is a very, very different. It's a very different craft, isn't it? I know, you know, when we sort of have people on work experience and they'll come to the news team and they might say, oh, I want to be a presenter. Straight away, we're sort of like, that's absolutely great and fine, but I'm going to redirect you because it's different. The two can overlap, obviously, but it's a different skill set, I would say.
I think you do have the skill though, and that's why you hopefully work with us on Breakfast as well, is because she jokes about you know, when she's on the show talking about her husband and things and the kids, but it's because we'll have a friendship conversation about this and go, this is a brilliant story, and Becky can so easily slip in and go, News Lady Becky, tell us what happened last night, you know. And some people can't do that, and some people can't let that guard down or be away from that script, and Becky can, and that's why it fits, and that's why Becky is one of the group and Becky is part of this.
But we couldn't do your job.
No, I can't read out loud.
We could, but it wouldn't be for long.
But I do think, as you say, it's a friendship thing, just going back to that, because the other radio shows that I have read the news for, shall we say, I can go to that building sometimes in a different city and they won't even come and say hello. So, which I'm not saying they have to, but I'm in a studio next door to you and I will pop in and say hi, which I could never imagine us being in a building and not have had a full conversation by 5:30 sort of a thing.
We've had a bottle of wine by 5:30.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's interesting as well about the sort of sharing, because I think, you know, when you hear the sort of the best radio presenters and they share what's going on in their lives, and you sort of have to give quite a bit about what's happening in your lives, because that also makes that connection, doesn't it?
If you want them to be honest with you, then you've got to give back.
Yeah. And recently there was a little bit of a health scare, wasn't there? That you talked about very openly on air as well, which again shows that sort of relationship you have with your audience.
I think just because one morning I just wasn't on the show, and it got to a few weeks that I wasn't on the show, and the listeners are amazing, and they start worrying. They start worrying because they're our family.
Every day they say, where's Rosie? And we're like, you know, until we actually know what's wrong when you're just laid up in hospital, until we know, you know, we've got nothing to tell them as yet. But as soon as you were well enough to come back on, you know, it was like a breath of fresh air. Everyone's like, oh, thank God she's all right. Thank God
the show can be good again. Is what?
Yes, I just kept the needles moving. I just kept the needles moving.
Yeah,
exactly. Figures went up.
I think you handled it really, really well, though, as well, as you'll see in this clip.
I believe I'm going to say this, but I think Mylo might have saved my life.
Everybody, every day, has been asking, where's Rosie? We've all been very worried about her, myself included. And I'm pleased to say that she now joins us this morning. Hello, mate.
Oh, hello.
Hello, dear.
Blooming heck.
Been a while?
Yeah. I've had better weeks, mate. I've had better weeks. The reason I've not been on the show is because I've actually been in hospital. So this all happened from a couple of weeks ago when I just wasn't feeling right over the weekend. Mylo, you know this.
Yeah.
And I came into work, and the first thing Mylo said to me, I can't repeat because it involved a swear, but basically you said to me, you look awful.
Look, when I'm used to seeing what you look like every day, and without makeup at that time of day as well, you were just pale. So
Yeah, Mylo encouraged me and said, listen, book into the doctors, but you never do yourself, do you? Until someone tells you need to do it.
You're one of those people. Oh, I'll be all right. No, I'll be fine.
I went into the doctors after the show. Straight away, I got taken into hospital. I've had blood transfusions, very, very scary tests. Thankfully, a lot of things have been written off and have come back okay. So we're on the right path. So I've got a few more tests to go, lots of hospital visits. NHS goes without saying, are amazing. But I did ask when I first got taken in, what would have happened if I hadn't gone to the doctors that day? And they said I would have been absolutely blue lighted in. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think Mylo might have saved my life.
I always knew at some point in my life I would become a hero.
Oh, anyone but you.
Yeah. No, it's lovely to see you well. Lovely to see you well, of course. We're going to open up to some questions from the students in a second. But I just wanted to, because radio's changed massively over this sort of like last 10, 15 years, like hugely with the different brands that are coming in and rebrands. And is it more difficult now to get into radio and become Danny Mylo than it was when you were 14?
First of all, that's not the dream of anyone. However, 100% yes, it's very difficult to, especially I'd say more so the presenting side. From a journalist point of view, I mean, Becky,
100%.
You're still
I'm still clinging on. They can't get rid of me, can they? Just yet. No, I agree. We have a lot of journalists. I'm constantly training up new journalists, constantly, and we always need freelance. We need people to do the news. So yeah, I'd completely agree with that.
And for us, it's harder as well because a lot of the networking that has gone on, it means a lot of the output does come from London. And you know, we like living in Yorkshire. We don't want to move to London. We've got quite a nice life up here. And so just it limits the other jobs that are available within your distance. So that does make it harder. So if you're just getting into it, definitely be ready to relocate. Especially now, it would be something which is easy for you to do before you settle down, before you're married, before you have kids. I'd say it would help a lot to be able to have that as an option if you can.
We met in East Yorkshire, didn't we?
Yeah.
When we first worked together.
Yeah.
And that's not there anymore. So that's, you know what I mean? So we moved to East Yorkshire that time, and that's not there anymore. So, you know, and that was a whole team of people. So that says something.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to go where the work is, I suppose, really, is the key, definitely. Okay, let's open up to some questions from the audience. Mark has got our roving mic. Jacob has got his hand up first of all.
Hi, Mylo and Rosie. First, I want to say we are big fans of you in our household. We'll listen to you every weekday morning.
Oh, I love you.
Sorry.
But I'd like to ask, how do you come up with all these brilliant segments for your show, such as Beat the Bandit and my personal favourite, Daily Cockerel?
So I think with all of the features and whatnot that we have, it's just like we like to have appointments to listen. So a little game that you can play along. Like obviously, if you remember what Ken Bruce used to do on Radio 2, which was Popmaster, again, a nice appointment to listen. It's something that you can play along with. So for like Beat the Bandit, we just think it's a bit kind of a chase style game, which we did before Beat the Chasers. Bradley, if you're listening. So Beat the Bandit is just it's something that people can play along to, and hopefully we give a bit of money out as well at the same time.
And like the Daily Cockerel is, we get a story from the papers that day, and you have to fill in the headline. But also within that, it's not just a play along game sort of thing. It's we get to tell you about something that is happening that day. So it's a topical if you're waking up right now, here is something that you need to know that day. So it's like, it's a game, but within a bit of this is a topical thing that's happening. Thankfully, we didn't do a Donald Trump one this morning, though.
What was the one this morning?
Oh, God, what was it? Oh,
I was out of the
Portaloos
car,
that
but
fell
then-
off the back of a...
Portaloos.
They were the answer was Portaloos. Yeah, so Portaloos fell off the back of some truck and caused some terrible delays and yada yada.
So how that would work is, so the headline would be blank, so it'd say, blank caused loads of tailbacks on the motorway, and then we open it up to the listeners to be able to guess what that could be. So we had people saying Donald Trump billboards and ducks crossing the road causing all these traffic, and then we'll keep them in for an extra 15 minutes hopefully by saying the answer's coming up after Becky's news at 9, so you just take them over that next radar sweep, which might get you another tick in the diary, and hopefully that is another idea behind the game.
We're trying to do placement of where things go. So Beat the Bandit is played around, we normally say 10 past 8, but it's 20 past because we're always late. And that is school run time. So that is why, and it's a nice play-along game with the kids in the car. Brilliant. That's really fun. And then the same with the Daily Cockerel. This is something you need to know news-wise, and we'll tell you after 9 o'clock. So if you're getting into work, hopefully you'll put us on when you're at work.
Put us on to find out what the answer is if you've listened on your way in.
So it sounds like we make it up as we go along, but actually we don't.
There's method behind.
Got a question up there, Liam.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming, first and foremost. Both of you clearly knew very early on that your career wanted to be in radio, and I was just wondering if you had any advice for people who haven't really got any idea what they want to do with themselves.
You knew you wanted to be in radio. I knew I wanted to make people laugh. So, Mylo, you, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but you love the technical sides of radio, you love the buttons, and I don't know what half of them do. But I knew I wanted to make people laugh. So that it doesn't necessarily mean that I wanted to be in radio. I found radio and I love radio, but I knew I wanted to make people laugh, so I surrounded myself in that environment.
The buzz for me is when you've got the button, you've got all these buttons, you've got your beds, you've got all your sounds, it's theatre of the mind. So to be able to orchestrate a room, you are listening for the funniest line that comes from someone, and then you want to leave the link on a high, so you're pressing the button to keep it moving nice and quickly. You've got just to be able to, you're listening and watching, and your mind's going 100 miles an hour, and you're just thinking, is this the best thing to do? And you're making all these decisions. You're trying to keep up with the chats and whatnot.
Yeah. So Liam, what do you like doing? What are your what are your hobbies? What's your personality? What do you like doing? Good.
Have you thought about politics?
Yeah. But
so where's your mind now? Have you literally just got no idea what you want?
I've got to go to the job centre on Friday. Not really what.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, been graduated about 5 months or so, something like that. Trying to get into journalism, not really had much success. Tried to get into data collection, had less success. Yeah, just I don't know really.
Why do you think you've not had much success in getting into the journalism side of things? Have you got the degree in? Are you, yeah?
Got the degree.
Okay.
is it because you did a news bulletin and then said at the end of it, "Oh, well, that good actually"?
Yeah, probably.
That's the latest. It is what it is.
I'm Liam.
Should be
Go
your
on
sign
if you
off.
want it. Yeah. I think surround yourself with what you like doing and hobbies. Why can't you turn your hobby into something that you love and then you get paid for? That's the thing. If you can do that, and we're very lucky to do that. We know what we like doing, and then we do that as a job. And if you can try and do that, you are absolutely winning. I think the other thing as well is if you are going for a job, is having that positive spin on things. I would say that would be a piece of advice for sure.
Yeah. Thea.
Hi, I want to say thank you for coming. When I first moved up here, I remember my mom asking, I wonder what radio sounds like, and we tuned into you guys' show, and I was like, I definitely want to work in radio up here. And ever since then, every time I can hear like a glimpse of your show in passing, I'm like, I know that's you guys. And that's kind of my question. How do you establish a brand for yourselves and for your show that distinguishes you from other breakfast shows?
Ooh.
We know ourselves and we are authentic.
Real. It's real life. So
yeah.
you know, although you see all the funny bits that we try and create, there's also a real element to it as well. Like we have tears, we have sad news, and I think
so. It's truthful.
Yeah.
So it's not
truthful.
just
everybody goes through. At some point in their life, a bad time, and when you've been on air for 10 years, you'll naturally have that in your life, and we choose to share it. And the fact that people, it's kind of a bit like a bit of a soap opera.
Yeah,
you've got your regular listeners who are tuning in every day. They know everything about you because you're speaking about it, you're sharing it on Instagram. They feel like they're part of your life, and they know you as a friend.
Yeah.
And if we can keep them interested in to keep coming back, then, I think that's kind of our brand, just real and...
Exactly. Then you feel like you know everyone on the show. It's not just, and there is the newsreader and she is in her box. You know that our newsreader is in her box, but also, she's having a dreadful time this week. Or when you were off, we were talking about you, when you were off, and you were like, Becky's off with the kids this week because it's half term. She wants to be here and not with her kids. And then straight away you know about Becky and she's not even in the room. You know what I mean? And it's all being authentic and then being lucky enough that people think of you outside of the show and go, Rosie would like this. I got sent a pair of tights that someone thought I'd like the other day.
I got the same. I got the
you
same
got
message.
the same one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You think that's so nice because we must have connected somewhere.
Gifts from listeners.
Yeah. Thank you for the tights, by the way.
No problem at all. Anytime. I found it like therapy, personally, being on the radio because, especially when stuff was going on in my life and being able to talk about it, I found that really, really important. So it saved me a lot on therapists. Question up the back there.
So obviously speaking to your audience and interacting with your audience is clearly something that you like. But behind the scenes, what's your favourite thing about radio?
Old jingles. Yes, old jingles. I do have a large jingle collection. Not so much anymore, but when I first kind of got into it, I just I don't know why, it was just a part of radio. I thought that jingles are not really anywhere other than radio, and I thought, actually, why do I enjoy listening to these? Am I a real geek? But no, it's kind of died out a bit now. But I used to like jingles.
Is it all jingles, or that first time you hear a jingle with your name in it? That's incredible.
Oh yeah. He's got. Don't ring our phones right now because that'll ring.
There's all of them.
That's how. Yeah, that's.
What's the best one you've got?
Oh God, we're going to be
What's the best one you've
now.
got of a jingle with your name in it?
Do you know what?
Well, body form.
I think we got some when we changed to Pulse 1 with Bauer. There was a really good name sing for us both, and it was a real earworm. It was a Mylo and Rosie, and I thought,
do you want us all to leave, and then you two could just talk about jingles? Do you see
I
what I
literally
mean?
could
When
do
I
the
said
session
earlier,
on jingles.
why have you asked
that? He liked pressing the buttons, and I like making people laugh.
Yeah.
Where are you? Oh, Theo.
Thank you for being here today. Really great to see what you're doing. It's given me a lot of ideas for radio and stuff. It's really sort of two questions as well. What makes a good radio show, and how do you come up with segments and agree on sort of the segments as well?
I don't think we'll ever find what makes a good radio show. I think we're still looking for it. And if you think you've got a really good one, or that's it, then you've lost it. You always need to be better, and you always go, we could do better. Every show we come off and go, well, let's tweak that. Let's be better. So
we're our biggest critics, though. So if we do something and we come, or if it's a live link and we pull the mics down, and then we'll just go, do you know what? We could have done this. So before anyone else tells us, i.e., management, we know beforehand that this is how it should have been done.
And honestly, do you want to know how, with ideas, honestly, what happens is normally I'll go for a wee, and then I come back and I'm like this, and got an idea.
And then I go, do you want to talk about it? Yeah. And then we go through it. And then we go through it, and we see how it'll work on the show, and we'll see what the best way is to talk about it and how to deliver it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas
Yes.
come through urination. If you want to write that down.
I think you got hooked up there. Hooked up.
Excited by my ideas.
You did. Abby, I think we've got time for one more. So Abby.
I hope someone's recorded that bit.
So I did a podcast episode as part of like an assignment earlier on in the year. We covered the post office scandal. I just wanted to ask, how do you guys cover such serious topics and at the same time still maintain the level of lightness and like your opinion on it without trying to like offend other people, sort of thing?
Get me to do it. Probably. No, joking.
From a news point of view, I mean, we do leave the serious stuff, you know, your murders and everything. That we don't touch on that sort of stuff. It's Becky. It's all news. It's all because we can't, other than deliver the news. You wouldn't want someone's opinion on it. Really, like it's not something that we feel that we can comment on. That's not us. That's not our personality. So rather than getting tied up in trying to talk about it, serious stuff, you know, Becky does a far better job
I think we hold the listener's hand through things. There's a lot of things we legally can't talk about. So if there's something ongoing, we cannot talk about it. We will leave it to news. But so, for example, the awful thing that's happened with Liam Payne at the moment, awful. Becky would have been covered that in the news. And like Mylo said, we don't want to start doing opinions and things on it, but we will state the facts. If you're waking up this morning, this has happened. And listen, Becky's going to tell you everything she knows at 8:30.
But
and that's a friendly way of doing it, as this is the facts, but Becky's going to talk you through it. You know.
On the morning after Liam Payne, though, we did open it up, so we did have quite a lot of calls from listeners who massive One Direction fans, and we thought, you know, everyone's going to be talking about this. It's news which it would be silly of us not to talk about when everyone else is talking about it and actually shocked of what's happened. So we just opened it up to listeners. We had, I think, a lady on who said I'm dreading for my daughter waking up because she was a massive One Direction fan, dreading telling her. So it's just, I think it's real life. It's what's happening in everyone else's life, and if we've not got really much to say about it, not being a One Direction fan, you know, we're lucky to have people that listen to us that are and that do have something to say on it. So that's when you just let them go.
Well, long may it continue, and here's to another 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Danny, Mylo, Rosie, Madison, Becky Lomas. Okay, we've got our alumni panel coming up at 12.